things are rarely as they seem. There will be people who will watch this video, maybe they'll catch a glancing glimpse of this yellow curtain, and there's the blue, and they'll think, oh, haha, he's a covert Ukraine war supporter. There will be. There honestly will be. There are some times that I think, no, I'm not going to set up the camera in that way, because people in the comments will just be making inane comments. But the thing is, I'm reading a book at the moment, and it's by this guy called Rich Rubin, who's, I'd sort of heard the name, but I've not actually ever watched any of his stuff, or until this point read any of his work. But this book is all about creativity. But he's involved in the music business. He's an entrepreneur. He's done various podcasts. It's usual setup. And in this book, he does posit that we're all creative, we're all artists. I don't agree with him on that point. I think the title of artist, like chef or musician, I think we save the accolade of those titles to certain special people who really have genuinely unique gifts. But in this book, there's a lot of good advice actually about stopping procrastinating, but also that if you want to create something, I've set this backdrop up because these are some of my paintings that you can see here. It indicates clearly, I've got sheet music there on the piano that I play the piano, and I've got the paintbrushes just over there in the corner, because I am a deeply creative person. But one of the kind of auxiliary kind of points that's come up in my mind whilst reading this creativity book is the kind of environment that we're setting by the things that we say and what we actually do. And it's become increasingly obvious to me that there are a handful of people that I follow that have risen to positions of prominence in, again, various titles: the truth movement, going down the rabbit hole, truth seekers, evangelicals, all these different people who have been very outspoken over the last few years. And, with the vast majority of their conclusions, I'm on board with. What I'm really not on board with is how incredibly pompous a lot of them are starting to sound, and using terms like, oh, this is what the normies think. And I think, well, yeah, but weren't you a normie once? Weren't you in that position of being hoodwinked, of being propagandized, of being terrified to death by various things? Were you not one of these people at a certain point in time? And the answer with all of it is yes, absolutely they were. And that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with waking up to the realities of various things, and we can talk about those until the cow comes home. And a lot of what happens online is people pointlessly debating with each other with absolutely no hope of convincing the other side of anything, and not just because they'll do it in such an arrogant and judgmental way, but because there are some people in the world, as hard as this is for our egos to accept, there are some people that are never going to be convinced. There are some people that don't want to be convinced. They don't want to lose their positions. They don't want to lose their millions and millions of followers on YouTube or on Instagram. And it's really interesting, actually, that in reading this book, that synchronicities, when you're doing the right things and you're actually going with when you're going with what life offers you as gifts, and when you're going with the flow, it's really, really interesting that you will start to notice that there was a there was a video that I actually posted about, what will it be? Maybe about a week or two ago. And somebody that I encountered on Instagram messaged me the other day. And in this particular video, I was talking about inheritance tax. And he agreed with my point that it's the most unfair tax, because there are people who will suggest that various taxes are the worst. But in my mind, inheritance tax is the most egregious because it's taxing money that has already been taxed. But that's not the real reason. The main reason why it is so hideous is because the government believes it has more rights to your money than families passing on, a helping hand to their children. It's an incredibly unjust thing. And nobody really bothers to stop and think about the consequences of it. Nobody can afford to buy a house, because the government's stolen the money from you so that parents can't set their children up for life, So people will look on resentfully and think, no, we have to take that money because the government knows how to spend it better. I mean, it's all such a joke. But this chap did actually, that's an aside, but this chap said, the thing is, don't talk about politics online because there are so many haters. And the thing is, there does come a point where, that's why I want to be a men's coach, because there comes a point where you have to start being honest about all of these things that are affecting so many millions of people. But we won't out of cowardice, or we won't out of not wanting to get any backlash. And you'll find that people will continue on particular threads, even though they know it will be completely immoral, to keep doing so. Because incredibly, one of the people who was very, very much on the vaccine train when COVID started has just come out again. Dr. John Campbell has just come out again saying, I think I've got COVID. And you just think, for fuck's sake. I mean, this is a day ago. And you just think, my God, is there no hoping? And you go to this guy's YouTube channel, 3.26 million people, and all the comments going down saying, really sorry to hear that. I hope that you get well soon. And I've noticed on various subjects, actually, I've noticed quite a lot of people suddenly changing their tune all of a sudden. And you suddenly realise, oh gosh, have they had a little knock, knock, knock on the door in the middle of the night saying, right, you're not allowed to be a dissenter anymore. You now have to start peddling this old line. And, this, I always found him quite creepy, Dr. John Campbell. Even when he went on with Neil Oliver, I just thought, it just smelled of sulphur around that bloke. And he said, I think it's one of the strains from the Omicron variant. And I just think, fuck off. Just stop peddling all of this complete nonsense. Bless me. That was a good one. And you just think, my God, it's all of it. It's so grubby. And the reason that I talk about living by principle is so that you can establish good principles to live by. Honesty, truthfulness, courage, bravery, resilience. These, my friends, are the things that really matter. And bravery is a big one, because like the friend from Instagram said, I agree with you, but I won't say it because there are too many haters. I can't live that way anymore. And there are certain things that I've said in certain videos that I've sort of had a bit of a sharp intake of breath before saying. But you know what? I'm glad, because the truth is the most powerful transformer of your life. And the more that you do it, the more you realize we can always prosper.